Dan Clarke, Executive VP Business Development and Agronomy, A&L Labs Canada. Today we're going to talk about taking a proper soil sample as it relates to turfgrass production, and we're going to focus really on today taking a sample from tees and green areas because it is a little bit different than if you're taking a sample from fairways and lawns and those sorts of things. So the primary thing you want to think about is the reason for soil sampling is to really remove the guesswork of trying to figure out what a good soil fertility and nutrition program is. And it really helps to give you a map of the nutritional needs, tries to identify hidden hungers before they crop up in the turf grass. A lot of people ask how often should I take a soil sample of my turf grass, and normally we talk about 2 years, every 2 years would be adequate. Unless you've got some problem areas, then you'd want to do it more frequently than that. When we're taking a soil sample for tees and greens, we want to make sure that we're sampling to about a 2 to 3 inch depth. So I've taken my probe here and I've marked with a Sharpie on it a 3 inch depth. I've also marked 6 inch depth. You do as a 6 inch depth more agricultural type soils, but 2 to 3 inch depth and maybe slightly deeper if you were doing lawns and fairways, but 2 to 3 inches is what would be adequate for tees and greens, because that's where most of the root mass is, and that's what we want to know for nutritional needs. So when we take a sample, what we want to do is the area that we're sampling from, we want to take approximately 20 cores from that area and mix them in a bucket. Want to make sure that we're using a good clean bucket that's not contaminated with anything prior to the use. You can buy them fairly inexpensively at any hardware store and keep that bucket designated for soil sampling. So what we'll do is I'll just begin with the soil sampling, and you just want to push that probe in somewhere around, like I mentioned, that 3 inch depth. When I pull that core out, I want to remove that top bit of plant material, as we don't want that in the sample, and you can just use that to plug back into the green and then just collect that sample in your bucket. And we want to continue across the area in a zigzag M or W pattern. Once we've collected our 20 or more cores from the sample area, what we want to do is make sure that we've got them mixed up into a nice homogeneous sample. We don't want to have any of these cores left intact like that. We want to make sure it's a nice homogeneous sample. So you can just take a good garden trowel, mix it up. Sometimes you may need to use your hand just to break up those clods a little bit. Once you've got that nice sample, we're going to take and put it into our bag that we're going to send to the laboratory. And on the bag, we just want to make sure that we indicate the information that we want, so when we get the report back, so make sure you clearly put the sample number and your name and address on it. Once you have that completed, we just want to fill the bag, and we need somewhere around 1.5 to 2 cups of soil. And we clearly have a line on the bag. It says fill to this line. So once we have that much soil in the bag, that's adequate for what we need at the laboratory. So I put all my soil in the bag, just close it down so we don't lose anything in transport. And you can see we've got enough dirt to fill it up to what we need in the laboratory. And make sure the information you put on the bag is transferred onto the submission sheet that accompanies your sample at the laboratory, so we can match everything up and give you the proper information and results back.